Hello and welcome to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. It's going to be an exciting discussion today. I have the privilege of Sam Kamani joining us in our digital studio today. Sam has Web3 with Sam Kamani. You may be a listener of his podcast. Is also a Web3 strategist at Moonstream, and looking forward to today's chat. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for inviting me. It is an absolute pleasure to be here talking with you. So let's go. Looking forward to it.
And thought we could start with your story, your history. I know we'll get into the podcast and some good blockchain growth tips, but always like to begin where it all started.
Yeah, sure. So sort of last 20 years, I've mostly lived in New Zealand. And out of that, like 15 years or so, I've been involved in lots of different tech startups. So a bit like how you are the growth and e-commerce and online advertising, digital marketing expert. That's how kind of I started a bit. I was doing Google AdWords in 2004 when most people were still advertising in yellow pages.
Sure.
So that's sort of my start. I've always been an early adopter of technology, and so I always try to look for, what is the next thing? How can I get the most underpriced attention and get the highest ROI? So that sort of led me to accept and try change and new technology. First company was in e-commerce space. Ran it from 2007 to 2015. End of 2015, I sold that company. That was my first financial exit or first exit, and that company went on to do really good things after I sold it as well. So I was like super happy with that. Um, After that, I joined an esports startup. With that, I was based in Bay Area or Silicon Valley for a short time. And then that company, there I was working as head of growth and COO or chief operating officer. And then that got acquired in 2018. But then that already had funding. So VCs do get their first stake. But that was the second thing. And then after that, I wrote books on tech startups. I spoke at events. I helped a friend of mine build an agency and all that. But over the last 5 years, I've always dabbled a little bit in blockchain and sort of Web3 or crypto, however you want to define it. I always built MVPs, explored that area, but I was never that sure. A year ago, all my friends in this space, in the technology space, were leaving their extremely high paid jobs. Like people were getting, 500K a year, that sort of, or even more jobs, and going and starting companies, startups, businesses in Web3. And I realized that, this time it is different. I really need to get into all this technology and go in full time, not just be on the sidelines and build some test or dummy products or MVPs and things like that. Go in full time. And that's when I reached out to a friend of mine in San Francisco who was building Moonstream, that, hey, I would love to be part of your company. Let's go and build something great together. So that's what I do in my day job. And in the evenings, I now run a podcast where I interview people who are building some amazing things, who are building at the forefront of all sort of Web3 technologies and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Amazing. Hearing about each of these exits, going from e-commerce to esports. Loved how you talked about the early day of Google Ads and overall growth. And what is it about Web3 beyond just social
Hype.
cues and seeing
Yes.
it's the hype. So it's the hype that
Yes.
has brought you over there.
No, it's not the hype, but there is a lot of hype. It is what the technology can make possible. And most people outside of the Web3 circles are unable to see it yet. The energy in the Web3 industry even despite the all the financial downturn, the stock market downturn, all that stuff, despite all those things, there is still so much energy, there's still so many people building things. It feels exactly like the early days of internet. It feels exactly like the early days of mobile phone or the early days of social media. And when you have that sort of a seismic shift in how the world could operate, that I didn't feel like I should just stand on the sidelines and watch. I wanted to be a participant. So that was about it. I mean, the changes that it is going to bring are fundamental to how things are going to operate in future. To give you an example, one of my key areas of expertise is gaming, gamification. That's why I've worked in esports. I've been a gamer all my life. Moonstream creates building blocks for the gaming industry to help move things from Web 2 to Web 3 gaming. And to give you an example, in gaming, Web 1 gaming, you can say, is when you had those old school Nokia phones, or the dumb phones, or however you feature phones, whatever you want to call them. um, they would come preloaded with the games, whether it is the Snake or whatever the game might be. I don't know if you even remember, or
Of course.
this was many many years ago, man. So those games, if you were a game developer, you would have to go through one of the cell phone service providers, whether it is like AT&T or Alcatel, or like there'd be like handful, 5 or 10 in the world. Those were the gatekeepers. You have to go through them, and the games will come preloaded in your mobile phone. And do you know, they took 70 to 80% of the revenue that the game developer made. So that's just how things were in Web 1. There was no app store that you couldn't go and do that, listed on the app store and stuff. Then came the world of Web 2, sort of, the whole social media, the iPhones and Android phones, and the Apple Store or iOS Store and the Google Play Store and all those sort of things. And then you could go and download. And even in that model, or there are the game publishers like EA, Activision. A lot of them, these game publishers can take 30% or more of the game developers cut. So it was an improvement, don't get me wrong, and it brought in a lot of innovation. We went from 80% to 30%, which is a massive massive improvement. But
Yeah.
now the next wave of Web3 we are looking at is, it is a lot more decentralized, and we are looking at 1.5%, 2%, if that. Or there is no permission needed. You can go and build what you want. People can operate on the blockchain, and they can move their assets from one game to another. There is just so much more freedom for the end user. We are still in extremely early days, so you can think of, we are in the days of the Snake game, of the Web 3. So that's why things look really pixelated. They're like still not that advanced. We're still learning and building on the technology, I mean, the whole world. But that is where it's going. And when you open it up to so many people, and where there's a lot less gatekeepers, don't get me wrong, there's still things that you have to. It's like, you want to sell your, um you say you play a Web3 game, you have an NFT from that game that you want to move to another game, that's fine. But then if you do are not finished playing, you want to sell it through OpenSea or another marketplace, the marketplace might charge you 2%, 2.5%, or 1.5%, whatever it might be. It's very
Sure.
minuscule, but it's still, there is a central party. You can sell peer to peer as well, which of course wasn't possible back in the days, but
Yep.
you had to still find that person, and then you find that person through a marketplace. So there is still some form of central parties and stuff, but it is still a lot more favorable to the end user, and it's going to open new markets in every single industry. But yeah, we can talk more about it as you want.
Sure. Sure. And appreciate the evolution from the Snake often see people playing on their phone in a meeting. Like, "What, you playing Snake
Yeah.
over there?" So
Yeah.
I like referencing the old school games to Web 2, the percentage breakdowns there, and how it became more
Yeah.
favorable, especially in early days of mobile adoption. And then from there, Web 3, talking about the transactions moving from one platform to the next. And,
Yeah.
to the nature of the show, I understand everything that has to take place from the product side. How does
Yes.
growth fit into that? How does product, ideation occur with growth in mind?
Yeah. So um once again, I will give you an example of just one industry, gaming, because we have only so much time. I cannot
Sure, sure.
touch go into real estate. I cannot go into law. There's like accounting. There's like hundreds of different niches or different industries that we don't have the time to talk about. But Web3 is going to impact every single industry that we are in, because what it does allow is it allows anything to be tokenized
Hmm.
and be owned by multiple people. So first thing is, I'll come to the growth part of all this, but first thing is like, okay, so what's the difference between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3? The easiest way is Web 1 was the static websites. You go to the websites, you read. There at the most it was blogs in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then 2004 5 onwards came Web 2, which was social media. So it was not only read write, but it was also read write and share. You could share other people's thoughts, whether it was Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. You could start commenting, you could start sharing videos, you could start liking, all these sort of. It added one more layer of engagement.
Yes.
But all this during all this time, if you interacted on Facebook didn't give you their stock. Facebook didn't reward you in any way, um, apart from the dopamine hit that people got back in the days in interacting on Facebook or
Oh yeah.
Twitter or whatever it was. Apart from that, there was no benefit. If the ad revenue came, the ad revenue all belonged to Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. It did not go. It did not trickle down to the end user who is generating that revenue for the platform. Whereas Web3, this changes now. It's like, if you um, are interacting in a platform, the
Hmm.
Web3 platform, so say, let's say it's Facebook, or let's say it's Twitter 2.0, and the Twitter 2.0 has its own token, and it rewards the token to people who are doing well or who are promoting the platform. So say if you use that platform more, Twitter
Yep.
will reward you more. So you not only are a user, but you also own. So it is read, write, share, and also own the platform, or whatever platform that might be, whether it is a social media platform or a game or some other SaaS platform. If you are promoting it, if you are an evangelist, if you are continuously engaging with it, we have devoted 2 hours or 3 hours a day on Facebook for like from 2009 to 2015, then that labor went unrewarded, and but now that can be rewarded in form of tokens, in form of whatever. So there is a growth sort of model associated with it as well, is because now, in order to grow your product, you can reward your existing users, and then it's in their interest to keep using that product, to keep pushing it to their friends, to keep promoting it, and so on. So there is a product led growth element to Web3, and that's why proponents of Web3 think that it is likely to continue to snowball and grow, because the incentives of the user as well as the owner of the product are aligned.
Exactly. And you brought up all of these different mechanisms that were used in
Yes.
social media, mobile apps, Web 2, even before, but Web 2. I had worked at a social gaming company 2010, 2011, and did research on the addiction model, the dopamine hit,
Yeah.
as you were
Yeah.
to state there. And how some of that led into social sharing, social dynamic, social elements. I'm taking an action on a game that sends you a push
Yes.
notification that then gets you active and returns the push notification to me. And each time I get that alert, each time I'm going back in. So I completely understand and wanted to touch on that, on how product shapes growth, and appreciate the distinction of we're all growing by our
Yes.
participation in Web3 gaming
Yeah.
versus just Facebook shares increasing.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And the thing is that this is going to affect every single industry that you can think of. To give you an example, it's like, say you are a real estate agent and you are selling your property. You have access to only the buyers in that area because they are the ones who are going to be buying, or and then probably using it as their own home or renting it out to someone. So it is generally people come and see and all that. But now, because of blockchain, because of tokenization, it is possible to get that house maybe for 800,000 and divide it into 1,000 NFTs of $800 each, and sell those NFTs online. And each NFT represents like, a thousandth part of that. So someone can buy one or more. So now people who were not able to get on the property ladder can get like a small stake
Yeah.
in a house, and anyone could do that tokenization. Of course, there will be a whole need for different type of lawyers, different type of, and it will bring forth new industries. um Moreover, that money from those NFTs could go into a decentralized autonomous organization like a DAO, and then the rent from the property goes into that DAO, and whoever owns equivalent amount of NFTs will get that monthly income from that. So that is just an example of in the
And that's
real
just
estate.
one
But this,
home. It could be a whole
yeah, a whole building. It
53
could be
acre
anything.
property, and
Yeah.
parcels of it with community
Yes.
buildings and DAOs and management systems
Yes.
that get take away a lot of aspects that people are
Yeah.
not fans of for HOAs. Meanwhile, homeowner
Yes.
associations meanwhile give you various types of ownership that are going to is going to be able to appreciate over time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the DAO model in real estate has definitely excited me. We've been able to work with some real estate blockchain companies more focused on commercial
Yes.
hospitality, hotels in some cases, but I see the potential for creating entire cities.
It is. And it's not only real estate, any industry you touch, whether it is like a machinery that you rent for your thing, that could be tokenized and rented out and things. So it's like anything you touch, there will be an impact because of blockchain. And once again, like, going back to gaming, it's like back in the days, or even now, if you game, if you are on if you're gaming on Halo or any game, it's like when you stop playing, or Fortnite, you stop playing, your character stays there. It does not come with you. Now you have spent like 80 hours or few hundred or 1,000 hours building your character over time. You can sell that character to someone else once you've stopped finished playing that game. You no longer play that game.
Mhm.
And and people can move that to from one game to another game or to another metaverse because of interoperability that blockchain allows. You're not
Yeah.
reliant on the developer of that game. So there are like, so many it's fundamentally different way of thinking and doing things that this is going to allow. Just like, it is easier to build a Uber type platform once we had the mobile phone. Without mobile phone, you can't be on your desktop and all that, and looking for. So so it is going to allow all sorts of innovation that we have not yet imagined, that we cannot yet think about. And that is the reason why I'm so bullish about Web3, and how it is going to impact growth and scale, for any product, for any company.
And you mentioned real estate. You started talking about legal.
Yes.
W- What are some other spaces What are some other industries that you think will be in the immediate radar? 2022, 2023, we're going to see disruption.
The immediate one is gaming. Absolutely the number one, because gamers have always been open to new technology, and that is sort of the first use cases. It's like you're a kid, you get a computer, first thing you do is games. You have the mobile phone, first thing you do is like download games. Kids always, oh, hey, do you have got any games? So it's like gaming is the first one. The second one is the financial innovation. There is now that is a very risky subject. That is good and bad, because
Mhm.
people take unnecessary risks when it becomes so easy.
Sure.
But that does not mean that people won't do it, because now you are tying the financial innovation that blockchain can allow to nearly any industry, and the first industry is itself. And that's why you see that always um, the hype is led by the different cryptocurrencies or coins, because some people have a lot more knowledge than the others, and they are able to capitalize on that. So that is definitely another one. Just like how there are funds and that go and invest in stocks and all sorts of things, there will be a lot more funds in future um, that go and invest in blockchain based assets and all sorts of financial assets and stuff.
Sure.
And there is a lot more knowledge needed in that, because there is just so much new stuff in that there will be a premium for people who understand this thing or these things.
And the fact that you brought up blockchain investing, I see a slowdown on some projects because of
Massive.
aspects of a bear market. Uh,
Yes.
and obviously, there was some corrections. We were in a
Oh,
undeniable,
much
bull
needed,
market
much
before.
needed corrections in some ways.
Yeah. And different perspectives, different opinions on it as a whole. Some of those narratives have showed a reluctancy to invest, participate in projects in this field. Again, I've seen it to slowdowns in development, to the change in schedules for a growth model, growth marketing rollout. What are your perspectives towards that?
My perspective is that this is like the best time ever,
Yeah,
because it separates the wheat from the chaff, kind of a thing. All the things that were built on just hype and not utility are going to die, and all the good projects that have real utility, which are being used, will survive. So this is I love this time. I cannot ask for a better time to be in this industry than this, because then if your company does provide real utility, if it has a real use, then people will continue to use it. If it was just hype and people were just waiting for it to flick that digital asset, then it will be flicked for the lower and lower price in a market like this. So I'm looking forward to what will be left in a year's time, year and a half time, because only the things with utility will be left.
absolutely. And agree with you, echo that statement. Just wanted to emphasize it to listeners. And we're working with groups on their B2B marketing who are putting together partnerships all across the industry and seeing more traction than ever right now. We're working with exchanges that have done well over the past few months, and part of it because of different sales activity. But overall, I saw the, post 2017, 2018 crash, if you will, the differences in conferences and conference attendance, even from 2018 to 2019, was pleasantly surprised and welcoming to see November 2020 numbers pick up across the board. Was actually expecting a little bit earlier, but was very welcoming and happy to see that across our projects and clientele. And then continual increases up until till this year, till 2022, a few months back. So always like to ask around in the industry. It shows you see differences at these physical events when in a bear market and bull market, and like you said, it weeds out a lot of the projects, the teams, the overall hype that is based on
Yes.
false premise.
Yep. Yep. Very, very true. Um, yeah. So I am overall quite optimistic, and it's like there is no shortage of money in if you have a good project. Um, Give you an example that in times like this, you can buy really underpriced assets, um, because even good projects face the challenge of
Oh
not
yeah,
like um, so you can find them for tenth of the price otherwise what you had paid in a market full of hype. Just like whether it is Coinbase or Robinhood or any of their stock is down massively. It's like instead of some of the stocks of these sort of high growth companies, and some of them have massive balance sheets. They have insane amounts of money in their bank account. Some of
sure,
them it's like half the stock price or market cap is they have in cash. So it's like it's not that they are gonna die even if no one buys from them. They can still run for ages, and it'd be on the other side. So you'd be able to people will be able to buy underpriced assets, and you can see this by um VC firms like Andreessen Horowitz, um, managing to raise just last week they raised 4.5 billion with a B. It's like for web3 projects, to invest in web3 projects, their latest fund. And out of that, I think they're starting another fund for just web3 gaming because they're so bullish on it. 600 million that they're going to invest in that. And they're not the only one. So if you have good projects, there is no shortage of funding. In fact, the company I work for, Moonstream, they are collaborating with Gitcoin and few other OP games and few others, and creating some sort of a grant. It's called GR14, Grant Round 14. And so if you have a gaming project, feel free to reach out to me. I'll connect you to the right people. I can connect you to some accelerators who can help you build games, who can, you can get some grants, you can get started. So if you have a good project, good utility, there's no shortage. You can go for it.
absolutely. And Sam, we'll get into some contact info at the end, but before we get there, let's say someone is
Yes.
working on a project. What should
Yes.
they be looking to integrate into their growth? What should they be looking to test out? This could be marketing channels. This could be overall positioning. Could be pertaining to investor discussions. What should they look towards to really make sure they're on the right path and to hit the right milestones?
Yeah. Can I share something for that?
Of
From the
course.
sales side of things, that it's like you do sales, and you have to continuously sell, whether you're talking to a client or to an employee, or to your spouse or to your kids. You have to continuously sell whatever you are trying to convince people for, or to explain to them, whether it's your idea, your vision, whether what to go and have for dinner, whatever it might be. So sales is always there. And the number one thing for sales that could lead to growth, is most people that we talk with, they want to know what's in it for me. So you have to make it very clear. And doesn't matter how you do, whether you do it with excellent storytelling, whether you do it with a pitch deck, whether you do it with your landing page on the website, doesn't matter what tool you use. You have to make it abundantly clear, or extremely clear, that okay, what's in it for me. Someone who talks to Jason, um, Jason can make you can make people know that okay, dealing with us will give you this results. This can take you from this state to this state. So yeah, that's what you need to convey. Now it could be a web 2 project, web 3 project, doesn't matter. It could be a game. What will you get out of it? So yeah.
Speaking to the audience's interests, make sure that is at the forefront. I've seen product guys, geniuses, not take that into account on some of their marketing rollout, whether we're talking about the organic
Yes.
content marketing, what they're doing to manage communities, their advertising traffic, perhaps their outreach and what they're looking to
Yeah.
get from individual partnerships or outreach to specific users, let alone their PR. So have the user in mind. Uh, Learn that at a young age. If you're in a sales conversation, the audience is going to remember what they said more than what you said. Get them talking to their own interests, get them set up. And again, it's like you said, what is the value to them? Make sure it's very clear, digestible, enough for the audience to be able to repeat and share with people around them. All of our marketing is set out to create peer-to-peer marketing. That is the ultimate. That is what
Yes.
what creates the hype, the line around the block. And you've had a lot of successes. You've been able to go from exit to exit. You've got into Web3 for all of the right reasons and are seeking out the best projects to align yourself with. What happens if you're working on, just amazing technology and it's not getting the appropriate amount of eyeballs? How do you optimize? How do you change up your strategy so that you are able to hit critical mass?
I look for, I mean, this is just my personal sort of strategy. I look for super connectors. Um, these are the people that some people might call them influencers if it's a B2C. You know, B2C, of course. And once again, pitching to these people, it is what's in it for them. So, say, if you are unable to get your message out, find out how you can collaborate and partner. And you might not even have to pay anything. So that is on the B2C. But B2B side of things, there are people who are super connectors. They have been in the industry for 10, 15 years. You are selling SaaS or selling enterprise product. um, and these are the people who have been in consultant roles or ex-employees of these all these big companies, or they already go and speak at all these companies and events. So maybe sponsoring an event with them, creating something that that can find you the inroads into that sort of enterprise or organization. This strategy works for me in both B2B and B2C. It's like a lot of Web3 projects live on Discords. So being on their Discord and being friends with the community manager, that is your sort of the influencer of that community, or that super connector of that community, or the moderator, because they are there all the time. They know the ins and outs of it. So make friends with them, see how you can help them out, volunteer a little bit, get that inroad into that community. So yeah, it's finding those people, because if you try to build that sort of network from ground up, it will take so many years. So might as well find someone who already has that, whether it's an influencer who's built their YouTube channel or a podcast or a TikTok channel for whatever, like how many ever months or years, and then work with them, help them out with something, and collaborate with them. That's way, way more powerful than just paying them to go and put up an ad, like ad for something. So yeah, do a collaboration with them. So that's what I would do.
Absolutely. Tap into their existing audiences, build
Yes.
into the trust, build into the loyalty, the responsiveness that already exists in those communities. As you know, web 1, 2, 3, at any stage, it's all built on
Yes.
social proof. It's all built
Yes.
on
100%.
validation and those dynamics.
Yes.
So awesome recommendation. What about scaling? I know that's what we're all playing for. How do you
Yes.
scale? What are the tips?
There are few ways. This is how I see it. There's only three ways to scale
Okay.
any project or any startup. First one is time. As in, like, it's like you have only so much time with yourself. So you have only so many productive hours in a day. So to scale, you have to get other people's time. So that is by finding other people who can replicate what you do. The second one is also of obviously financial resource. You pay other people, like, to get into their networks and stuff. And the third one is technology, and that is something that people like you who use really, really effectively. And so when you use tech, you could have that video, and that video be shown to a large number of people, or it could be ads, or it could be. So there's only a combination of these three things, that is using other people's time, or using money to buy those existing, get into existing networks. It could be online networks, it could be social networks, it could be anything. um, or communities or whatever it might be, and then the third one is technology. So just finding a combination of what works the best to scale.
And any success stories you could share? Anything that you could say, hey, this was what really made this project scale?
I'm just thinking. um yes, I mean, it is all like very very sort of uh, basic stuff, but then it comes down to I'll share the case study of what we did and what worked for us so other people can use it. um it comes down to using sort of same thing that I've said, like using existing network, creating something that there is something in it for them as well. So when I worked for an esports platform, what we did was we used to create our product was that it would allow people to run tournaments on our platform. So you are a I don't know, like a um, s- some sort of in university, you want to run a um, Call of Duty tournament for people in your university, or you are at a workplace, you work in human resource, you want to organize after work event, or you work in a pub in UK, and you want to do like a FIFA tournament for your pub. So you would use our software to run this tournament and then to stream it on Twitch, YouTube, all that, and provide the bracket so people can log in using their PlayStation ID or Xbox live login or Steam login or whatever it might be, So that's the platform. That was basically, and then you'll get points, rewards, leaderboards, all those sort of things, the standard stuff. So that was our product. Now, to get attention in a highly saturated industry where every game, every influencer is trying to promote themselves, or there's so many streamers and stuff, how do we scale this with a limited budget? We had very small amount of funding, because back then funding rounds didn't used to be that big in 2016, 17. um, so what we did was that we said, okay, how can we help out existing influencers, the Twitch influencers and YouTube influencers? Because if we just go and directly hire them, it's going to be insane amounts of money. So what else do they need? They want money, or they want new followers, and they want to grow their sort of prominence. So how about we deliver those to them? So we reached out to some really big names. Like at that time, the UFC champion was Demetrius Johnson.
Hmm.
So we reached out to him. I mean, we had some connection, and we reached out to some stand-up comedians, and we created this sort of like 5 people that we had to pay a little bit of amount. But we said, look, if we create like a really fun tournament for PUBG, you will get a lot more audience. And what we did was that we reached out to 60 influencers that, hey, do you want to work with this other influencer? And they all want to. So use their name to get 60 more influencers with a massive audience. And then the remaining 40 people, it was like 100% tournament. We said you have to sign up to our platform to go and compete against 60 influencers, and all these are going to be streaming on Twitch. All of them were promoting it. We got like, I don't know, 10, 15 million views for some of the funny videos we made out of that tournament before even it went live. It was featured in Lead Bible and all these sort of big platforms with 20, 30 million followers. Our total expense was under 18K. and
Wow.
and if we had just paid each influencer would have charged us 20K. um
Sure.
so it's just finding that sort of thing. Once again, what's in it for them. We had to pay like 4 influencers and we got 60, and not even much, because they all wanted to work with each other, and we were the middle people who organized and allowed that to happen at that scale. So yeah, so once again, same thing that I said earlier.
What a great example. 18K, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, in earned
Yeah,
media value, and being
and we got
able,
thousands of signups, so it was very quantifiable. Like we could immediately see, because
low
everyone
cost per
wanted to take part in
acquisition.
that. Yeah. and
Yeah.
then we ran lots of brackets before that to see who were the top 40 people who would advance to that the last 100 and then get to participate and stuff. So there's ways, if you are creative enough, you
Yes.
can leverage technology and all these sales principles and stuff to scale.
If you're creative enough, you could leverage technology and all sales principles to scale.
Yeah.
Love it. Could picture that as the highlight of the episode. And Sam, thank you so much for sharing all these details. It's really nice to be on the line with you here, joking around a bit, hearing what attracted you to Web3 and your series of exits. Again, that's the goal for so many entrepreneurs that listen in here. So really appreciate you divulging these stories and cheat codes with us here. Is there anything that you'd like to close out with? Anything that you'd like to leave the audience with before we get to contact info?
Yeah, just to have an open mind. Just don't worry about that just because there's a new technology. They will, anytime there's a new technology or a new area, it is a bit like Wild West. There are lots of wrong things. There are a lot of scams. There's lots of, because the information is not uniformly distributed yet. So there are a lot of naive people or not trained technical people there. And so they fall prey to some bad actors. So any new platform, even when email was new, there was a lot more spam for the Nigerian princes and the
Sure.
erectile dysfunction drugs and all those sort of things. That just means that there is an opportunity to build better email filters than Gmail did and won. So it just means that there is more opportunity to fix those problems. Just because problems exist with new technology, don't ignore it. That means that you have an opportunity to go and fix it and be the winner and completely dominate the market. So that's all I'd like to say.
There you go. Don't get deterred by any talk of
Yes.
bad actors at every
Yes.
stage from the beginning of the internet to today. There's
Yeah.
been these types of narrative out there. I think that's such a great message to really get out there. And let's say somebody's listening in and they'd like to get in touch with you. You gave an invitation for it earlier. What is the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. It's at Sam Kamani. So just search for my name, or look for my podcast on pretty much any audio platform. So just search for my name, or Web3 with Sam Kamani, and you'll find it. My DMs are always open. Reach out to me on any platform. I'm very happy to reply. Very happy to help you out wherever I can. And yeah, and I have one more request. Go to this podcast, Jason's podcast, Scale, Optimize, and Grow, and give a 5-star rating for him on Apple Podcasts right now.
That's too kind of you. I never actually throw that out there, smash that like button. I'm usually not doing that for
It's,
our video or
no, look,
audios.
man,
I appreciate that. It's a very nice
yeah,
gesture.
you're providing such a brilliant service, and you're doing such an amazing work. You're working so hard to put all this content out there for free for your audience. So
Yes.
I think that's the least. It's not a monetary ask. It's not. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just getting it out there. So we
Cool.
see stronger success rates industry wide and love your invitation for that reason and encourage listeners to get in touch with you. And Sam, thanks again for joining today. Really appreciate the discussion points and going in depth here. Want to thank listeners as well too. We'll see everybody next time.